On today's show, Lakers head coach Darvin Ham reportedly experiencing a disconnect with the roster based on some of his rotations and decision making. Is Darvin Ham the problem in Los Angeles? And if he's not the problem, what needs to happen for the Lakers to get back to playing winning basketball? The vibes are a wreck right now with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and company. It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, right? You're trying to go out and have a good time. You don't want to be stressed about the ticket buying experience. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events happening near you. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They've got all-in prices, and they show you your price all the way up front, right? I don't know about you. My least favorite thing when I'm buying tickets is to go through the whole process and then get to the very end when I'm trying to check out, and then suddenly I'm paying like an extra $100 in convenience fees and handling fees and digital ticket fee. It's the worst. Game Time has their all-in price, so you know exactly what you're paying up front. No hidden fees, none of that. They're obsessed with finding you ways to help save money on tickets. They've got so many killer deals that you want to take advantage of. Flash deals, last-minute deals, all the way up to and including after the start time of your event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Lakers, Andy Kamenetzky. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Lakers. And Andy, it's been a bit of a rough stretch of basketball here for the Lakers. They got a win at home against the Clippers by the skin of their teeth, honestly, to put an end to that 4-game skid that they were on, where things kind of felt like they were maybe not quite all the way at rock bottom, but basically right there. If you're the Lakers, there's been reported, I guess, a disconnect between Darvin Ham and the players because of his decision-making, his rotations, all this. So let's start there. Is Darvin Ham the problem with where this team is at right now?
I don't think Darvin Ham is the problem. There have been so many problems of late. I don't know if you could say any one thing is the problem, but I think the issue was increasingly starting to look like that Darvin wasn't the solution. And sometimes it doesn't even matter depending on where you were. And you mentioned the Lakers not being quite at rock bottom. If this wasn't rock bottom, they were eye level with that rock. You know, they were staring that rock dead in the face, square on. And, you know, the IST that they won feels like 10 years ago compared to where they are.
Season at this point.
It feels like a different decade compared to where they are right now. And, you know, they're beyond some of Darvin's decisions with the rotation. And I think certain schemes, they were doing things like that. His messaging over the last 2 games, like pregame, postgame, was frankly pretty tone deaf and seemed like somebody that would be pretty easy to tune out. And I think made it easy to believe reports or at times just body language that he was being tuned out. But this was a really important win, not just because the Lakers needed a win and they needed a win. If you could get it over a quality opponent, and the Clippers have been as hot as any team in the league, but also they looked good. Even if it was a close game, the Lakers looked really good during this game. And it was a really good team win. Like, there was nobody who played in this game for the Lakers that did not make at least some significant contribution throughout the course of it. And I thought that was really, really important.
So if you're the Lakers right now, and if Darvin Ham is not the sole issue here, how do you get back to the way you were playing, get back to IST Lakers, right? The Lakers that actually looked good during the in-season tournament?
I mean, they need to get their defense back up, you know, for all the focus on their offense, which is legit, and lack of outside shooting, at least consistent outside shooting, which is legit. And, for a while, they got D'Angelo Russell back tonight, and he made a difference. But for a while, you were down to just LeBron and Austin Reeves as trustworthy facilitators, and that's a problem. Their defense has slipped badly during this swoon since the IST final. And that's something they really need to get back on track. Like, it's the reason why Darvin went to this super defense heavy kind of damn the offense starting lineup that had a lot of people confused and reportedly inside the locker room as well. And it may have been too extreme, and he's since altered it by putting Austin Reeves back in the starting lineup. But I understand the impetus. Like, the defense had gotten really, really bad. And ultimately, the defense is what has made this team look at their best, at times where they looked like they could be in the second tier of Western Conference contenders behind, say, like Denver. It was the defense that made it look that way. So they need to rediscover that. They need to just get back in sync. They need LeBron, frankly, to look a little less tired. He's often looked pretty fatigued significantly over the course of games during this period. And they just need to get back on the same page. And I think tonight could be helpful because they needed to get some confidence back.
A lot of the things that you were saying, especially about the defense, right? Just getting on the same page, getting back to, what they want to be able to do on that side of the ball. I mean, some of those things kind of come when you have a coach who is, coaching, where his message is falling on deaf ears, right? In that locker room. So much about defense is just buy-in, right? If you're not bought into what you're supposed to be doing defensively, you're going to have lapses. You're not going to communicate. You're not going to be putting your best effort forward on that end of the court. So even if Darvin isn't the full problem at this point with where this team is at, maybe this Clippers win is the win that kind of turns the tides a little bit. But if they fall back into a rut, right? If they roll into their next game and they lose against the Raptors, right? And it just goes back to same old, it looks ugly. How much longer do you think this team goes with Darvin Ham before they try to make a change and say, you know what, we just need some kind of a change to try and ignite this team and get them playing how we think that they can play?
If they go back to regressing again starting Tuesday against the Raptors and they lose another 4 or 5 in a row, and they lose in ways that feel listless or where at times they seem openly disconnected, when they lost to Miami, the first of the January games, and this January slate is extremely important for the Lakers. It's almost entirely at home. They only leave California 3 times during this entire month of January. They don't have a back-to-back until the 29th and 30th of January. I believe those are the dates. So they go a long time with, not a cupcake schedule in terms of their opponents, but as far as not having to go on the road, the Lakers have legitimately played a lot on the road to open this season. And frankly, they played a lot of games to open this season, more just in terms of how many they had scheduled. This was an important month for them. And they lost not just badly to Miami, but LeBron's body language to me after a while looked very disinterested and disaffected, which obviously is alarming because LeBron is the biggest tone setter on this team. To get back to the question you had, there could come a point where you just, again, decide that Darvin may not be the problem, but he's not the solution. And you need to find a solution quickly. I don't know if internally Phil Handy or Chris Gent would be that solution, or throwing gobs of money at Doc Rivers and bringing him out of the booth. For what it's worth, I think he's great in the booth. That would actually be kind of a loss to the broadcasts. But you might just decide somebody else is more likely to be the answer than Darvin. And so I think that's what it would be. It would just be the idea of, he may not be the problem, but we have to land on a solution now.
Do you think they might explore swinging for a big trade? There were some initial reports about the Lakers maybe pursuing a DeJounte Murray trade, possibly, and the Lakers are always in every single big rumor for every disgruntled player on the market. Could you see them trying to make a trade to kind of Band-Aid fix the roster a little bit, get LeBron and AD a little bit more help before going scorched earth and just, all right, Darvin, you're out?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If they're going to make a big swing, it can't be a Band-Aid deal, because we saw what happens when you take a big swing that is more about the swing than the fit with Russell Westbrook. And that took an awful lot of efforting and unwinding and frankly losing up to the point where Rob Pelinka managed to reconfigure the roster in a way that made much more sense. So I don't think it's out of the question that they would look to make a big deal, particularly if they decide that for whatever reason, this year's roster isn't clicking the same way it did last year, or say the absence of somebody like Dennis Schroeder is hurting them more than they may have anticipated heading into the year. But they can't just make a big swing for the sake of big swings. Like DeJounte Murray, I think could make sense for them in terms of his skill set and things that he provides. Zach LaVine, I think, would be a big swing for the sake of a big swing, and I think it's a terrible idea.
What needs to happen for the Lakers to get back on track? If Darvin Ham isn't the solution, then is he potentially on the way out so that they can bring in the solution? You'll have us covered for all of that and so much more over at Locked On Lakers. Andy, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Anytime, brother.